Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
And hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. I want to welcome you here today. We're very excited because we're going to be able to go over how things went to end our winter season. There's only one team standing out of all of our sports teams, and we'll talk about them on the show here today. But before we do that, we just want to say a big thank you to the underwriters here today, the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also by our friends over at Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, and by Lisa Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Want to say a big thank you to John Meisner, and yes, I have a little guest here with me, and that is our producer, Philippe Simon. And you know, we don't normally get a chance to see Philippe, but today we get a chance to have him as part of our show because we are trying to get some kids, adults, anybody who wants to help us with our programming here at GCTV.
Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about Game of the Week. As most people know, we've been covering about a game a week. There's been a few days off or a few weeks off here and there due to winter illnesses and such, but every week we want to cover a green field, a Green Wave team. Let me tell you how proud I am of Green Wave. It's a great school, it's a great bunch of kids, and they have great teams. I think it really represents a very unique demographic in the area. It's probably one of the most integrated teams I've seen around. I think it sends a really good message to people from all over the region of the welcoming presence of the Green Wave. And so what we do is we will broadcast these games, but we broadcast them after they're actually played. So we record them. We record them on equipment that includes switchers, controls, recording, monitoring. We have TV cameras. We have volunteers who also are going to be doing announcing and play-by-play. You've been doing a great job with play-by-play, and John Meisner, who's here in the control booth right now, has been doing a great job with some of the color. And I believe last game we had both you and your brother Aaron. This is the kind of thing that we really need here in Greenfield, is a way to take some of the high school students and some of their parents and give them a path into the broadcasting industry. Sports is probably one of the most exciting things that I film, and we're so happy to do it. We're looking for young people and older people, parents and kids and people from the community to come together and help us with these broadcasts. We will do, GCTV will do all the training. We'll teach you how to use a new tech TriCaster, how to use a Ronin recording device, and then we're also going to get more and more new equipment. We have some pretty good Sony cameras that we use with some control mechanisms attached to them. So we're getting that process of moving into more professional equipment day by day on a week by week basis. So we want to train people how to do that, how to actually follow the action close up without blurring the shot, or how to just sweep the field to get those plays, those whole groups of plays that are being done there by the athletes. There's also a very important and crucial part, because you're going to be doing baseball games for a local radio station.
Correct.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
And what we're going to be looking for is young athletes and maybe even some of their parents to come in and do the play-by-play, you know, saying what's going on, what number the player has, who's got the ball, what they're doing with it. And then there'll be someone there that knows something about the teams that's going to be talking about some of the background information, just like a real sports broadcast. We want to bring those Green Wave teams up to a level of broadcasting that may not be as good as ESPN, but we'll get there. We want to get as close as we can and be as professional as we can and prepare some young people for that industry.
Well, you know, it's funny that you say that, Philippe, because if you really look at it, you know, Chris Collins and the FCAT down in South Deerfield, they have done it for a while, and we sort of decided that it would be a good idea for us to try it last spring. And we started it last year with softball and baseball, and it was very successful. And a lot of people were very receptive to what we did. And then we decided that it would be a good idea to do basketball. And that was also very receptive as well. So we know that people want it. So if we can be able to get enough people and enough qualified people to be able to, make the commitment, I think that it could be something that could go on for a long time, because you really need bodies and a commitment, and that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
But if you get proper training and you realize how much fun it is, maybe this would be something that you can be able to call your hobby, and it'll be something fun for you to do throughout the year.
Sure. Or maybe it's just a way for you to contribute to your local community, a way to contribute to your local school system. Parents are always looking for ways to do that, and here's a really good way to take an active role in something like that. And for some of the students to do that, we're in contact not only with the coaches, but also with the camera and video and media departments in the high school to see if they can produce some people who want to take that particular skill and move into the sports area with it. I'll tell you, sports, I'm not the biggest sports fan, which is funny and quite a confession to many, but I really enjoy the process of making a video piece about sporting events. It's just so excitement. There's movement, there's color, there's passion and emotion in it all, and it's phenomenal.
That's one thing that you did notice this year that you and I both talked about a lot after games was, wow, look at the student section. Look how into it they are. Look at the game that we just recently did with the girls from Sabas and the Greenfield girls in that playoff game. That was a loud gym.
Yes,
over at Nichols Gym, wasn't it? It was a loud gym that night.
It was. But we managed to keep hearing your voice and your brothers.
But it was an exciting atmosphere. Right. And that's what we want people to understand is that if you do get involved in this, you're going to be a part of that excitement.
It's not just an extracurricular activity. Parents and students, they both regard their sports as really being something.
They do.
A really big priority. And it's not only been rewarding for me, but for the volunteers that we have. They're just so excited to do it.
Exactly.
And we're also going to be looking for sponsors so that we can continue to upgrade our equipment. That's another priority. Training is great, but you have to train people on some of the latest equipment or what that equivalent would be.
Right. And if you are a person who's really big in the community and you are a business owner and you know that people are following what we do, if you end up, getting a phone call from us of an opportunity to be a sponsor or an underwriter, just think about this. What you're doing is you're giving us an opportunity to upgrade equipment within the studio here. And we're giving people an opportunity to be able to do something for the community.
Exactly.
Which is really what it comes down to is you have an opportunity to do some community service through your local TV station.
Right.
And that is really cool.
And it even goes to a further dimension than that. We're non-commercial. We're community access television. We specialize in making underwriters appear in the same light as, say, PBS would or any of the public television or radio stations would. We make it so that it's an appropriate way of showing your business's community support. We're tailored to do that. It's not just an advertisement that you hope seeps into the community, it's actually community support. And it's shown that way, it's limited in that way in some ways, but it really does the trick. It really does the trick.
The cool thing that people need to understand about when you get involved with something like this, and this is my 4th year doing this now every week for a long time, and I'm really, really engaged. I really am. But what I realized is that you touch a lot of people with what you do when you put your programming together at this place. Because when I do this show, I'm dealing with 6 different high schools. But the 6 different high schools have a lot of sports teams that play each season. So when you think about it, you're like, oh, wow, that's a full hour of literally sports talk, and all these kids all get mentioned for their achievements.
Right.
So what we do is we go in a little bit more in depth about some of the kids on what they do, where you might not be able to get that inside of the local paper or even on the radio station.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
So You know, this is what I like about this kind of stuff, is that we can go a little bit more in depth, Philippe, on what we're doing. And it's because of people like you who have helped me as a guy that went from radio into the TV world. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle myself, didn't know how I was going to be on a camera. And because of you and the group of people that are here, you made me feel comfortable enough that I can be able to come and be able to do that transition and be able to feel very comfortable when I come here.
This is the one reason, one of the major reasons why I'm here. I've been here at GCTV for almost 12 years now. Because our philosophy is we accommodate everybody. No matter what your experience is, no matter if you even have a disability, or if you're shy, or you have some issues that need to be dealt with, or if you're just simply out of practice, these are the people that come in through these doors, and these are the people that we work with. It doesn't matter. You just need to come here, and we'll get you going.
You know, I like the fact...
I can give you the motivation, but I simply have to cut in and say, it's really going to be up to you and your willpower to keep that show going.
Well, exactly, and that's what I was going to get to, is the fact that nobody can say that the support team here isn't good, because that would be totally false information, because you guys do a wonderful job at making people feel comfortable when they come through the doors. And you know that because of the group of people that you do work with. And you know what the most important thing is that if you know that you're going to come in and give something a try, you want to know that the person that might be able to help you is going to be on your side. And that's the one thing I felt when I first came here, was that I knew that you and the staff here was on my side.
We believe in you.
Yeah.
We believe in every producer that walks through the door.
Yep.
And we serve them that accordingly. One of the things that I really enjoy doing here is learning. And I feel like right now we have such excellent leadership in our organization to do so. Our new director, Nick Ring, brings so much talent, so much skill and expertise and knowledge of new technology that I don't even use some of the old programs that I used before. I'm using Final Cut 10 now, and you can't tear me away from it. I mean, it's just a beautiful program. Nick has shown me how to make the titles and the intro to our Game of the Week show, and it's just everything's just getting better. And it's just so exciting to be part of something when it just keeps getting better, and it's gonna keep getting better, and it's gonna be even better when people from the community get more and more involved.
I'd like to see, even if you can't make a commitment to every game every week, but at least we know that we have a group and a crew, as we like to call it.
Absolutely.
That's even better in the fact that you never know if someone gets sick, you never know if there's a family emergency, that there's always people available. And boy, that is a big, huge asset to be able to have that. And it would be nice if Philippe could be able to pick up the phone on a Monday and say, hey, you know, we got a Game of the Week on Thursday. I know that you have a plan that you can't make, but I can call Joe, and Joe said he can be there. Yep. And there you go. Everything's covered. Or Mary. You know what? I got to tell you right now, we had Allie Murphy. Now, a high school student, it's a perfect example of a student. She made a huge commitment to us this year, and she has been excellent. The problem is that she made every game.
She helps set up.
Yep.
She helps break down. She does the job that she knows well, and we keep her there doing it.
Exactly.
And she loves it.
And she loves it.
Yeah.
And the other
we love her too.
And we do. And the thing is, it's sad because it's not sad for her, it's sad for us, but she is one of the best softball players at Turner's, and they are, of course, getting ready for their new spring season.
Right.
We're going to lose that camera person who's really good.
We're going to get another season of softball to film for the people in Greenfield.
That's right.
And, you know, I also want to say, we are getting ready to do all the things that we can do to get ready for Game of the Week with the baseball and softball.
Right, because it is getting ready. It is getting around. It's around the corner, man.
I know we're going to prioritize that, but I also want to say that if the Game of the Week comes up and the only one at Greenfield is badminton, I'll take it. I don't care what sport it is. If it's a Green Wave team, we want to cover it. So some of the other coaches might want to get in touch with us and let us know that they'd also like to be covered. Yeah. And who knows, maybe with a technical expansion, with equipment expansion and personnel expansion, volunteer expansion through the school, we may be able to have 2 or 3 crews and cover 2 or 3 games a week. and be a real great stepping stone into the sports broadcasting world. John Meisner wants nothing more than that, so we keep training him. He's the guy who does all the switching, all the titling for your show here. He's a production manager, the director, the producer of this show, and I'm the production coordinator of GCTV and the producer of Game of the Week. So, if anybody wants to come in and fill some of these roles as a volunteer, we'd be more than happy to have them. So it's not just limited to being under our direction. I may have to show up and talk to people and make sure everything goes smoothly, but I could see like every position manned by a student, every single one of them.
I couldn't agree more. And if you look at what Chris Collins has been able to prove, and he's proven that he can get things done down there with students. So we know it works. How many of the younger people were up there filming the Pioneer? Remember, we were up there doing a game. There was a young lady there that was filming the game of Pioneer, okay? The sad thing is, though, is that I bet you Otis Wheeler wishes that he could have a few more people to be able to help that crew.
And maybe what we do will show some of the other what we and Chris Collins and FCAT does, because we both have a pretty good organization in terms of how we do these games. More community television stations will be doing this. And what does that mean? That means more and exciting opportunities for volunteers.
I think it's great. And I'll tell you, wouldn't it be nice to know?
Quite simply, with the technological increase, a lot of our town government meetings and city government meetings are going to be covered by robotic cameras. So there's not a whole lot of opportunities for volunteers there, and those are shrinking, and that's a good thing because that can be kind of tedious for people to film. But you'll never be able to not have a human camera person following the action. You need the brain attached to the hands, attached to the lens.
It's really true.
Like that.
And you need someone to be able to tell people exactly what's going on too. So that's where you need your announcers to come in. So everybody all works together to make the production successful. And
hey, you ever have a dream?
I have dreams, absolutely.
You ever dream of being a big sportscaster?
I got to be honest with you. I always wanted to be Casey Kasem, but you know what?
You kind of are, aren't you? Here?
I'm having fun. That's the best part I tell people.
So live the dream. Live the dream like Bobby C lives it. Live it like Chris Collins lives it. Live it like Jeff Terrell from Bear Country lives it. And live it like John Meisner lives it.
Yeah, because we take it serious. And the other thing too, and I want to bring this up, is if we could get more of the access TV stations to cover stuff, what would be nice is a sports person who's really into sports. What if you're a person who knows that Greenfield and Turners are playing the same day that Frontier is playing Mohawk, but all four teams are good? Wouldn't it be nice to know that you could still watch that production of the game that's being filmed up at Shelburne a couple days later, knowing that you went to that Turners Greenfield game, or vice versa?
Bobby? We're community television. So we're not really competitors.
No,
we
not
can
at
get
all.
On the phone and we can straighten all this out every week.
Yes.
We can go, what games are you covering? Okay, I'm going to cover this game.
Exactly.
Okay. I think one thing that FCAT really liked is when I decided that we would just do green wave games.
Loved it.
That that meant that they were safe to cover all that they could cover from Frontier?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so and then what happens is they'll know that we're going to take on one of the bigger games, not all of them, but one of the bigger games of the week, and they can get a copy of that to air on their station. We get their stuff to air here.
Like Chris said, the thing is if it would be easier for us not to have to bring the whole crew up to Greenfield when Frontier plays Greenfield, then you guys don't have to come down to Frontier when we have the Frontier Greenfield game.
Exactly.
We can share as we do.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed going to all these Pioneer, Frontier, Mohawk. The students were so helpful.
They were.
Just like in Greenfield. I go to Greenfield. I've got Terry. I have to mention Terry, the custodian.
He's a phenomenal guy. I love Terry.
He just knows what we need, and he's there. And if he's not right immediately at the front door, he's in the hallway somewhere on the first floor, and you can easily find him. Mike Kacheski and all the other athletic directors and coaches at Greenfield have been so helpful and open to this. And the same with Brendan Leowolf, who's been very open to this idea and has talked to his students on a few occasions.
You know, the nice thing is that when you go to a place like this, you do feel warm. And, you know, it's nice when the athletic director walks up to you and says, is there anything we can do for you? You know, we appreciate what you're doing for the kids, and we want to know what we can do for you.
Right.
That makes you feel good when you walk through a door.
Does. It really
doesn't
does.
feel like you're considered a nuisance because, oh, gosh, here we go. You know what? The TV station's here today.
You know what else I like about this, the high school games? Is that the refreshments are really awesome.
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Hey, how about
I had
pizza at Greenfield High School?
It was hot and it was fresh.
Yes, it was.
And it was served by
the high school
the stars.
That's
of
right.
The girls' basketball
Well, that's what
team.
I wanted to tell you. I wanted to tell you that what they do is they have a booster club. So the kids have to work a certain amount of hours in the booster club to be able to get what they get as their time. This way, the money helps be able to get the kids nice sweatshirts, or maybe if the team wins something big, they get a little something for it, right?
Right.
So they can't do it unless the kids are involved with the parents. And that's the one thing I like about Greenfield. Everybody's engaged in that.
And I certainly hope all this attention towards high school sports sends a message to Beacon Hill, sends a message to Washington, D.C. to say, hey, you know what? Some of these kids really deserve a little bit of extra funding, you know, for some of the nicer things that they could get in terms of equipment and uniforms, and to help the parents and help the schools with that burden.
You know, it's funny that you say that because they're running an initiative right now throughout the NBA that a lot of these NBA players are taking 1 or 2% of their pay to be able to help their own communities where they came from to be able to save sports programs, because a lot of these programs are falling to the wayside because of funding. They can't afford it. These big cities can't afford it.
Then I have a message for the managers of the local New England teams. Pay your guys more, and so they can give us some of that.
But the NBA, what they've done is they've made a really good commitment to getting athletes to be able to make that commitment for the 1 or 2% of their income.
And I think that's
But you know what?
fantastic.
You think about it, the government's going to get a piece of that pie of your income anyway.
Sure.
But if you could take 1 or 2% of that and give it back to the community that you came from,
Right.
knowing that where you came from originally,
and what if you
the
can't?
community that support, but even if you
What
can't.
if you can't?
You can't.
You can volunteer.
You can.
You can be a part of that broadcast.
Yep.
And you can volunteer, and you can learn while you're doing it.
So that's why I love the fact that we have community access here in this area. I think the biggest problem was for a lot of years, Philippe, and I don't know how to put this in a nice way, but I thought Greenfield Community Television and other TV stations around the area, we probably didn't do a very good job promoting as well as we should have back 10 years ago. We probably missed the boat on a lot of things. But I think today, the message has been heard very clear in the communities now.
Oh, yes.
So big difference from 10 years ago or 12 years ago when you first started, Philippe, to where you are today. Would you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, as much as we wanted to cover, you know, sports and community events, there's so many limitations in terms of like what we can do with our staff and our equipment.
It's true.
And so it makes it a little bit more challenging. But I think GCTV was just waiting for the right combination of people, someone like you, someone like John Meisner to come, and with my knowledge of production, to say, hey, we can do this. We can put together something like this that really reaches deep into the community. And there's not a member on the board of directors here that doesn't agree that this is one of the best ways that we reach into the community.
It was so well received by the board, and I want to thank the board for having the trust in all of us, because not one person balked at this at all. Matter of fact, everybody that I ran into that's on the board here that I personally know have been wonderful. You know, I remember when I ran into Sue Dillon and said I wanted to do this, and she's like, awesome. You know, I talked to Chris Collins and he said, awesome. I talked to Otis Wheeler. They all said, yes, this is great. So I know that it's been very well received. And even your director of the board too.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because a lot of people think the board is just a bunch of people that come and meet once a month. These are people that defend us.
Yeah,
protect our interests and negotiate for things and you know, try to smooth over some of the rough edges that we have. And they've been so good at that. It's really something that I appreciate, because it's made a really positive impact, not only on my professional life, but my own personal life.
It's true, you know, and when I ended up first going to Gary Lounge and I talked to Gary about what I wanted to do, you know, he's like, well, you know, I think if we all sit down and we end up hashing something out, we can make it work. And you know, and I admit he's not a sports guy really either. but he's a technical guy.
Right.
And he knows what this product could be like if it's done properly.
Exactly.
And look what we've been able to do.
Exactly. And what's the most important ingredient? The kids.
Absolutely.
The students. I don't think I'd even be interested in doing it if I didn't think it would help them in their life.
Well, let's talk about the two students that helped us out with our last few broadcasts.
Sure.
You literally had Mr. Grozik and you had Miss Murphy, okay?
Right.
Two students that you had that were our camera crew. John Meisner's only in his 20s. He's still a young man, okay? So he's getting experience doing what he's doing. And you know what? The two veterans are you and I, and we've been able to do what we can to try to help them. And that's what we're supposed to do. We've already got our training and we have that. Now it's our turn to take that knowledge that we have to pass it on down to the younger kids to give them the opportunity that we had, Bud.
Right,
you know?
Exactly. And you're absolutely right about that. It's all about passing down the torch.
Absolutely.
If I get an opportunity, I don't know, I always like that movie Lawrence of Arabia and the guy they run into after they cross the desert, Auda Abutai. Who says, you know, I am a river to my people. It's like whatever he gets, he would give to his people as a whole. And that was his reason for getting what he got, is because it was his pleasure to serve his community and to serve his people. It is a pleasure to do that. And
I feel the same way, and that's why I do this.
It's so satisfying when you put a student on camera and they come at the end of the night, they go, hey, that was really exciting. I really like this.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because when I watched, Jaden come in and I saw him smiling, right? And I said, hey, you look like you're in a good mood today. He goes, this is fun. And that was awesome. And you know what? Allie gets there early, like you said, helps you set up, get everything done. She knows that the finished product is a good day's work.
Right.
And you know what? We all are going to make mistakes in everything we do in life. Everyone makes mistakes. But you know what the most important thing is consistency. And we made a commitment to this community that we were going to do 6 games of the week throughout the basketball season.
Just to sort of finish up, because I know you got to get to your scores and all that kind of stuff, but what does consistency and commitment lead to? Consistency and commitment could very possibly lead to, and I'm already beginning some discussions with people about this in the school system, is an actual curriculum of sports broadcasting.
That would be great.
You know, actual credit that goes towards a broadcasting school or a university, you know, or even just to simply say, I've done this. Maybe we can make some kind of certificate up that says this person learned how to do camera. Or this person knows how to do all of these things, you know. But I would love to see this as part of the curriculum.
You know what the other thing is too, Philippe?
And that's what GCTV is all about. We're here to help the community, and we're here to enhance what the school system does.
But we want people to understand something else too. There's 2 elements here. We have a radio station too. So you know what, folks? You even have an opportunity to be able to maybe do an internship with us and be able to produce your own show. And by being an intern, what you're doing is that you're learning ropes and you're learning different things, so that if we want to decide to have a special day of training, we can have you who started here, you're going to do this that day. You're going to do production. I'm going to do, I'll do the news. I'll give everybody the news. We'll give somebody a chance to be able to be a DJ. They'll be able to play the music and be able to talk the liners up, you know? Then they get a little training of what it's really like to be at an actual commercial radio station. But they can utilize it through their community radio station, which is an opportunity for them to be able to say that they can be able to be involved. Because what people don't realize is we have many hours that are available for programming and they're not being used. And people can take advantage of those hours if they would like to. You have had a wonderful reggae show for a long time.
Now, but you know, I want to remind everyone that every student, every adult, every child, every human being, and pets, maybe, if they have some skills, are welcome at GCTV.
Exactly. It's
You're
true.
welcome at GCTV, and you're welcome to learn how to do video, editing, filming, and then all the radio arts. And I'll tell you quite simply, I'm a graduate of Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and it was mostly my vocal training that I was given there. And that's the emphasis of that, because they expect to put you on the air when you graduate. I really enjoy production, but I had to learn it.
Of course you did.
Many directors and other people that I worked with, and what I was able to figure out and teach myself. You know, it's a wonderful, wonderful resource here because I'm able to take all of my creative skills. I have skills in music, in art, in video, and in voice, and I can use them all here in a day's work. And so, like, if people want to come in and do sports radio, we'll work with them on polishing their voice and learning how to get that access to knowledge that they'll need to be a knowledgeable person.
Absolutely.
Because obviously when you turn the mic on, you really have to have something to say. It's probably one of the hardest things, as you can tell. We're both sitting here.
Yep.
And having this whole ad-lib conversation.
You know, it's because I've been doing it for so long that I can be able to do it, but eventually someone else is going to be able to do that too, where they can sit down and feel very comfortable and just remember that when we do what we're doing, you and I are sitting at a chair and we're talking to each other, bud. That's all we're doing. We're talking to each other. But what we're doing is that we're sending a message while we talk. And the message is that we would love to have the community help us out here at GCTV. And remember that every time that you're involved in one of our programs, you're giving back to your community.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to remember.
I want to thank you for all your service here for the community.
I love it, man.
We really appreciate it.
I enjoy this. This is
who's going to take over for you?
You know, who knows? Maybe it's John Meisner. Who knows? You know, John Meisner might be taking this over. You know, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who the next kid's going to be.
So you need to start training someone.
Anybody who wants to come, I'm willing to train anybody. You know, the best part about it with John, and I like this about John, and that's why we're giving him props, is John has his own podcast, so he already is doing a show like this.
Right.
But you know what the best thing is now is that John realized that, hey, I'm doing a podcast, and I do a lot of it talking with national sports, but I've also realized that I'm a Greenfield resident, and I love this kind of work. Well, maybe I need to start getting involved with the local TV station and being able to, you know, sort of branch myself out to doing something differently than my podcast. And John has done that.
National sports, that's a very competitive field because
totally
so many professionals are in there and there's so many professional organizations that do it. But where's the need? The need is right here.
Yep, and that's exactly what I told John too. You know, it's funny because when him and I sat down, I told him what the most important thing to do is to get involved with local, because you can pop on any kind of ESPN, CBS, you know, you can go to CBS Sports, you can go to NBC Sports, they're all there. Anything you want for national sports, you can go there. Want local? Go to Nesson. Nesson will give you everything in the Boston market, as you know, Philippe, because that's where you grew up in that area. So you know, that's your town. So you know what I'm talking about. But when you come to say, what about Greenfield? What about South Deerfield? What about Northfield, Berniston? Those are all the high schools. Pioneer, Mohawk, Frontier, Franklin County Tech, Turner's, Greenfield. These are the schools that we focus on, but this is our community. Right. So you're helping out the community by doing this.
One of the most alarming things to me is to hear about how some of the schools are losing population and have to combine a few high schools to create a football team. Folks, we need people to move up here. We need the jobs and we need the families to come up here and repopulate places like Buckland, Charlemont, Montague, you know.
You know, when I was a kid.
It's really sad.
When I was a kid, Philippe, you weren't here. We had so much industry in this area that families were able to flourish. Families were able to make it on one person working.
Sure.
People had beautiful homes in Greenfield. The community had all the programs available in Greenfield. They had the town rec program where every neighborhood had their own little neighborhood group.
And these were people that were working an honest day's job, an honest day's work. They weren't making millions of dollars.
Nope.
It doesn't cost a lot to get that kind of healthy community going. And I think we can do it again.
You know,
I really
we need these people like Valley Steel Stamp, who's one of our underwriters, and what Stevie Capshaw has done. And he's a Greenfield kid.
I'm a big fan of VSS engineering because when I went into that Franklin County Tech School and John Carey took me around, he showed me the 1941 lathes from Pearl Harbor that were painted battleship gray. And then he showed me on the other side all the new stuff, all the new equipment that Steve and other friends of his had helped to get donated to the school. And I just took a look at that and I said, well, either one of those, you're going to learn some kind of skill. But with this high-tech material, you're going to be marketable.
Exactly.
Okay? Let's not make it so that those kids that learn those high-tech skills have to go somewhere else.
No, we want to keep them here in our community.
We want to keep them here.
And that's exactly what Steve's attitude is. And if you look at Matt Beat, who owns Beat Fog Nozzle, same thing. Family owned,
Absolutely.
been around, they're still here. We need to be able to get people to realize
every
that
summer when I water my garden, I think of Beat Nozzle.
There you go.
I said, oh yes, I remember them now.
So the bottom line is that we have opportunities here. And the kids who are looking for something a little different that they've never done before, come see us. Like you said it best. We will train you. And you know what? You're going to get top shelf training if they deal with you.
And not only do we do this in the sports arena, but we just had our Lights Camera Greenfield a few months ago.
Yes, you did.
And it was a huge success. There were a lot of contestants. And what it did was it enabled students and adults, kids and adults, to come together and create a team and make a video and learn the editing. We supported them all the way. And then we had the screening at the Greenfield Garden. So you can go and see your own film eating garden popcorn.
That was fun.
And I won't tell you the secret recipe because it is some of the best popcorn around.
It really is, man.
Yeah.
I love their popcorn.
How would you like to do that?
Addicting.
See your own movie eating Greenfield Garden popcorn and right there in downtown Greenfield.
Yep.
You know.
Can I crack a joke with you?
Yes.
Someone asked me, what was the hardest thing for you to come on TV? And I said, it's going to make me look bigger. And then I said to myself, you know what? The 10 pounds don't mean nothing. At this body, what does 10 pounds really matter about the camera?
And
so,
I'm glad you brought that up so whoever's watching me right now knows that I look 10 pounds heavier. Just to let you know,
See,
official.
he's taking it very seriously about his weight lately. He's been working hard. And, we both have, honestly.
I live to be in the woods. I live to be like a natural kind of human being. I live to be in the woods. I love hiking. I love exercising. I will play any sport. I played Irish football once. I still don't know how it works. Have you ever done that?
Never played Irish football.
It's insane.
It's insane?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they didn't feel like or have time to explain it to me, but I was playing a lot of soccer in those days when I was younger, and I jumped into this, what looked like another soccer game, but it was like, oh no, it's Irish football. And I'm like, well, how do I play? And he's like, just stand over there and catch the ball. And I did. I catch the ball. He's like, no, you shouldn't have done that. So I just have no idea how to play that game.
So I've never heard of that. I'll have to look it up.
It's
Irish football.
It's interesting, yeah. Yeah, there's so many sports in the world, so many ways to enjoy yourself.
There is. I got a question for you because, I'm having fun with this interview because we're getting a lot out of it.
Yes.
But I wanted to ask you, what enticed you, honestly, to get into this business? I think people might want to know what made you want to do this, Philippe.
That's really, boy, that goes back a long way.
Yeah, well, of course it does.
First of all, I'm a Leo, so I like being the center of attention.
Me too. Me too. I'm an August boy, just like you, buddy. August 20th. I just made
8th,
it.
yeah. So remember that when you send your
there
gift
you go.
card.
That's right. But
So-
what was the how do I put this? What was the passion that you had in the belly of wanting to try this?
I used to listen to the radio, and I thought it was the most amazing thing. Mm-hmm. I remember at summer camp, my counselor, we was up in Ossipee, New Hampshire, and we took a day trip to Freedom to somewhere in New Hampshire to camp out. And on the way back, we passed this town called Freedom, New Hampshire. And they had this outdoor auction going on. So it was like, kids, you want to go see an auction? We're like, sure, why not? And our counselor got this big old-fashioned radio, and he was tuning into shortwave from around the world and all this other stuff. And I just became really fascinated by that type of communication, that you can listen to what somebody else is doing in a faraway place.
Right.
When I was a volunteer at the Children's Museum in Boston, when it was still in Jamaica Plain, beautiful place, me and my sister used to volunteer there every Saturday. And we did mock theater and mock radio shows and ventriloquist acts and things like that. And so I remember we did this radio thing where I came on, I was the announcer, and we put on some old 1920s jazz. That's all they had up in that attic. And so I really, really enjoyed that. And so I pursued that a little bit further. And I believe it wasn't in high school, but it was at Salem State College. I went down to the radio station because someone had heard my voice just speaking and said, why don't you try to be a DJ or at least get involved? I went to that radio station, and before you knew it, I had a show Monday through Friday every afternoon with rock and roll and punk rock.
Cool.
Old punk rock. Then I had a reggae show on Saturdays and a jazz show on Sundays. And so there wasn't a day that I wasn't doing radio there, and I just loved it. I ate it up. I couldn't do that now, but I ate it up. And when I left that school, because unfortunately, instead of going to the classes that I should have been going to, I would play hooky at the radio station and do radio shows. But at least I was doing something.
Yeah, exactly, right? Yeah.
You know,
But at least I was...
Really? I was doing something with the time.
That's right.
That was educational. And I left, well, they asked me never to come back again. And so I decided not to go back and defy them. And so the year after that, I went to a broadcasting school, but I still couldn't really get into education at that age. I needed to work. I wanted to know what it was like to be independent. And that's when I got into the music, the reggae music that I do now. And that's where that started, is I started working in restaurants or whatever job I could get so that I could play some music, learn the drums, learn how to sing, all that kind of stuff, and really get into the culture. I could spend a whole another show telling you what I admire about West Indian culture and about the Jamaican tradition in music. And so after that had gone on for a while, I'm saying my life is empty and I need to fill it with something. I need to get serious about some kind of career. And I remembered how much I liked broadcasting. I went to Connecticut School of Broadcasting, and they just loved my voice. They thought it was just really worth developing. And so they developed it. They developed it really well. But I still didn't get into, I graduated from there and I still didn't go into broadcasting because I moved to New York and I had a wonderful Japanese company offer me a very good paying sales job to use my English language skills. So I said, well, that's a good stepping stone into the broadcast industry. Finding work in New York is hard. I did that for a while, and then I moved out here. And I decided that I still didn't have enough skill, so I went to GCC, Greenfield Community College.
Did you have Saul Greenblatt or did you have Mr. Agnew? Any of them two?
Greenfield Community
Yes.
No, I didn't.
You didn't do any of the voice with them, any of them too?
No.
Okay.
I did most of my voice work in English and film classes.
Okay.
And in the media technology, educational technology classes that we took, interpersonal communications and a few other classes, and got affiliated with Gary Lange.
That's right, because he did all of the he did all of this kind of film work for the college.
He's like one of those other people in my life. There were a few people in my life who saw something in me and said, do this. And when I was getting ready to graduate from Greenfield Community College, I went up to him and I said, I think I know what I want to do now. I want to do something that's related to broadcasting, maybe something that has something to do with politics or community events or things or issues in the community, and to wed my philosophy and political understanding with my ability to speak and do broadcasting. He suggested that I come to GCTV and at least start interning. I became an intern. 6 months later, I was offered employment, and excuse me, and then a year after that, full-time. Now I'm the production coordinator. I've been here for about 12 years.
You know, if you look at, like you said, you found somebody who had that little connection to help you to get to that area.
That's why I want to be that person
But he
now.
believed in you.
Right.
You are the guy who's been able to work with a bunch of folks here that you've had a chance to believe in them. Mm-hmm. So like you just said, it's all about that trickle-down effect, you know, like we talked about. You and I, we're in our 50s. So we're at a point now where we can help these kids out. And this is our chance to do what we were offered to be able to offer these kids. And that's the cool part.
Correction, we're in our 20s.
Yes.
Officially.
The only reason why I asked you about that is because I had almost a similar story. I started in high school, but Deerfield Academy had their own radio station back in the day called WGAJ 92.7, which is now NPR now. They bought out the signal, all right? But back then, the kids went home for the summer. So I had a chance to get a show because a couple of my friends went to school there, and I was able to get a sports show there called the Sports Forum. And I did the Sports Forum, and I also had one show that I did each week, which was a 3-hour air slot to play music. Matter of fact, the first song I played on the radio in 1983 was an old classic hair band song called Come On Feel the Noise by Quiet Riot.
Oh, wow.
Okay? That was the first tune I ever put on a turntable there. But I was able to get an experience there. Then when I got into school, I had an opportunity to be able to have an elective, and I asked if there was a possibility through my guidance counselor if I might be able to get an internship at WHAI or WPOE, which were the two stations in town. And they said HAI was willing to put you on. So I was able to get the internship at WHAI. And of course now I sit here after doing Flashback and doing my show every Sunday. I started that in 97 and we're still here in 2020. And I'm still doing it every week.
Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
Really that's really, showing people where a commitment like that leads to.
Yes.
And something that you just stick to and that you just do.
Yeah.
And like what I was saying is I want to be that type of person that sees something in somebody and says, you should go for this, or you have the skill to do this. You can do this. How many people do that?
Not enough.
In our society.
Not enough.
Many people.
Not
it seems
enough.
to be rather the opposite.
No.
Oh, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're not good enough for that. I learned from being in New York, there's like a credo in New York, is like, no matter how untypical or unreasonable a person's aspirations are, you never tell them that they can't do it.
No.
You always encourage the person.
But you know what you tell them? Is you tell them what the tools are to get there.
Exactly.
And sometimes you can come across as a person who's being a little stern because of what you're trying to preach, but if that's what you believe got you to where you are, you're only being honest with them, though, bud. Sometimes people think that your honesty is a way to pick on people, and it's really not that way.
No.
You know?
And you know what? It doesn't always, the person doesn't walk in and has that talent like that.
Absolutely not.
Sometimes they have to work at it.
I was
remember,
terrible when I first went on the air.
Because we used to listen to the radio a lot when I was younger, and we would always look for reggae shows. And we found one who was done by a young guy, and he was horrible.
Yes.
We used to make fun of him constantly. 10 years later, we were worshiping him.
Yep.
Because he had stuck with it.
You
and
have
kept
to.
going.
You have to. But you know what the best part is that when you see your improvement in what you're doing, it only builds more confidence in yourself. But when you start realizing that other people would love to have the same opportunity you had and you can help them, that's even more rewarding than what you're doing in your career.
Absolutely.
I love the fact that I had the opportunity to do what I do, Philippe, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that I've been able to try to help other people get better at what they do. And that's important to me,
When you get past that part of your youth where you're just like, I'm going to be famous one day, and it kind of doesn't really happen, but what's fame? I may not be nationally famous or even regionally famous, but I'm pretty famous in Greenfield and Franklin County.
You are.
For the things that I've done. You're very famous here.
Yeah. But you know what? People also respect us. That's a word that we have to remember. It's about that word respect, though, Philippe. And what I mean by that is that when they say, you want a guy that's going to be able to do a show and be able to produce a really good sports program, guess what? You want Philippe Simon on your side. If you want a couple of guys who can be able to go on the air and be able to talk sports and be able to get things done, you got the experience of a Jeff Terrell and a Bobby C and a Chris Collins. And now you got this young kid that's coming up through in John Meisner who wants to eventually get there. You know what?
Oh, and he'll get there. You know why? Because he wants
it, man. He wants it. And that is the key. You have to want it. I was watching Jaden Grazik at our broadcast at that game and watching him have fun. And then his mom saying that he loved it on Facebook. That means that that he went home at the end of that day telling his mom he had fun.
Right.
Isn't that what it's about? Because you know what? When we have fun, aren't we better at what we do when we have fun?
All I ask is this. We train you, you go out there and you get famous. Just don't forget about that. So when you're ready to calm down and pull it back in, you come back, there'll be a place for you.
He just told me he likes Mesa Verde too, folks, if you want to go get him a food. He'll love lunch with you. You could tell him that Philippe ended up helping me out, and I took him out to lunch when I came back.
If they're famous in the
come back to town and visit you, man.
And they come back to visit me, we're going to like the Waitley Inn. Sorry. I mean, I love Mesa Verde, but
you want the Waitley Inn.
I want some big money food.
There you go.
Or maybe a sushi or something.
There you go. And you deserve that for what you've done. Yeah. I just want to say that you are a really big asset to us.
Thank you.
I'm glad that I personally, I can do this sports thing in the next show, but this was a show that we need to air. We need to air this a couple times because I'll tell you why.
You know why
We
I
want
started doing
people-
sports?
No.
And I hate to say this, but
Go ahead.
I was not interested in, and I didn't really have any inclination to wed my broadcasting with sports until I met you.
Really?
And that showed me that there was a market for that, and that it showed me a little bit more about that. But when Chris Collins started sending us the FCAT games that they had recorded, I said, this is a really good piece of television.
Yeah.
This is really good programming. This is really good production. I think we should do this here. I cannot expect them to come here for all of our games, as they're going to be busy covering their own. It's kind of our responsibility to take something like that on, almost.
I think it was a great move, and I think it was a great move in the fact that we have been able to learn a lot ourselves by doing this project.
Yep.
You know, TV is a lot different than radio, man. I'm telling you right now. People don't realize it, but they're two different animals.
They really are. They really are.
You know, and even in
'Cause I know, 'cause I
broadcasting, it's
produce
two
my own,
different
yeah.
animals. You know, in our case, we're pretty lucky because you put us up in a mic and we can be able to not have to have the camera on us the whole time, and we can sort of do our play-by-play and all that of what we're doing. But I got to tell you, I can't really think of how much of a distraction it would be if I knew I had two cameras on me the whole time while I'm sitting there trying to literally do a game. I think that would just be very distracting. But in the fact that how we do it is the right way. We get the cameras on the players, on the game. You're seeing everything that we're telling you. That's a good way to be able to tell if the guy does a good job or a girl does a good job on a broadcast.
Yeah, we switch over to the camera with the host.
Absolutely.
And announcers during the period breaks and the halftime.
And the halftime,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then every once in a while, there's really, like, they stop and, like, they're arguing with the referee or something.
Right. And then they'll
some
come,
kid gets
or
hurt,
there's a
you
big
know?
situation where there's a big situation in a game and they're calling for a timeout and you're like, you know what? There's only 4 seconds left and it's a 2-point game. Wonder what these guys have to say. You take the camera and you put it right on Bobby and John, and then you're like, okay, so what do you think? What are they going to do when they inbound the ball? How are they going to be able? Are they going to go to the big man down low? Are they going to set a screen and leave somebody open so they can take the shot? What's going to happen? So now you can be able to give people 2 or 3 different options of what might happen.
Sure.
And you know what? You pray like hell that in that 4 seconds, one of those 3 that you just talked about happens because it makes you look good.
Right, exactly. Exactly. No, exactly. And you're also enhancing the game.
Exactly.
Because you're giving something people a little bit more of a dimension to think about.
Exactly.
You know, and I think, you know, thinking in sports goes hand to hand. Sportsmanship is a really, I'd say it's something that's more important to me than to many other people. I really look at the demeanor of the team, how they play the game. They may lose that day, but they may have captured my heart. You know?
Well, you know, I've watched many of these kids do what they've done. There's days where the kids play their hearts out, they lose. There's days where they play their hearts out and they win.
Yeah.
There's times where a kid has a bad day and they really didn't play well. But you know what? They're kids, number one. Number two, they're not professional athletes. And number 3, and most importantly, if you're not enjoying what you're doing after going to school and spending 2 hours at practice 5 or 6 days a week at the game that you're supposed to enjoy and you're not having fun, that sucks. And I'm going to be honest with you. I'm saying that word because I'll tell you what. You are taking extra time away from your family and away from something that could make you happy by doing something you don't like. And I don't think that's fair for young kids to do. And that's why I've always preached that parents should always let their children make the decisions on whether they want to play. Don't
Let the
force
children
them.
play the game. Stop telling them how you played it when you were in high school, how you want them to play it, or you were the big champ and they got. Don't put any pressure on them.
It's true.
Let them enjoy themselves and let them get good on their own terms.
And you'll
if it's
be amazed.
important enough to them,
Yep.
they'll do it. No, my mother was not big on me playing sports in high school. There was no motivation for me to do that. I played soccer and I became a varsity goalie because I loved it.
Yep.
I love that. I love that power.
I know. And you know what? You were a big part of the team. Let me tell you right now. As
I
a
could go
goalie,
out
you're a big
almost
part of the game.
halfway across the field,
Yeah.
knock someone down,
Yeah.
and they'd be fouled.
And the other thing is, too, you got to be the guy that got to be able to touch the ball.
Yes.
With your hands.
Yes. More than once.
So the bottom line is that we have to understand at the end of the day that you should have an opportunity. you should be able to have fun, and you should be able to give back to your community. And you can do all three of those right here.
And the fourth thing would be is when the ball comes down and you grab it, you might have to curl yourself up like a tardigrade.
Yeah, I know that. I've noticed that, yes. But I just want to say one thing. What a great hour this was, because we needed this. This is something that we need to preach to the folks on this TV station. John Meisner, I'm going to tell you right now, I know he's not on set with us, but he has done good things for us, and we are lucky for the commitment that he has made to this. And that kid eventually, he will be a voice in this community, and I know it's going to happen. And it's because guys like you and I are believing in him and giving him an opportunity to be able to come and get some experience each and every week.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for everything that you've done for me, Philippe. I really do. And what a good hour. This was important. It was very informative. And I think that people need to understand that we have openings here. You just have to dial the phone number, 774-4288.
That's right.
774-4288. When they answer the phone, tell them what you're interested in, and they will steer you in the right direction.
Yeah, and guess what, folks? If you don't like the phone, if you think that's too old-fashioned, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, you know, we have email here.
Yeah, you even have ways, folks, so you can even go through YouTube and it takes you right to the GCTV YouTube page, and you can still get information. So there's so many ways to be able to find it. Or you can stop right here on Main Street in Greenfield. We're right across. I tell people it's the easiest place to find because it's right across the street from the Greenfield Public Library, right next to the Chamber of Commerce, bottom floor, right across the hallway. It's right there.
So. We're in the heart of the cultural community here in Greenfield.
That's right. Well, Philippe, thank you for all the information. It really, really helped. And I want
you for all of your, this has been quite a few years that you've been here.
Yeah, number
doing
4.
This. We started in a radio production studio
We did.
with the camera pointed at you, and we would just edit that together. And what I think, it's just wonderful to see this evolve into a TV show. We're on a set. There's better and better quality of editing, and now we're out there doing games.
I know. And, and it's great because I even went out and bought this banner that we have here behind me. And, I said that would be something cool to add to the set.
We've really so done little.
But it's meant a lot to everybody. Right. And all these kids, their parents, the coaches, the fans, we have to thank all them because they're the ones that made our job exciting doing those 6 games over the basketball season.
No,
it was a lot of fun.
Without the parents and friends and fellow students coming,
there
wouldn't be an audience and there wouldn't be any cheering.
That's right.
And who doesn't want to hear a game or have a hot dog with the cheering going on?
No, you want a lot of noise. And there was a lot of noise in the games we had this year.
And then without the athletic directors and the coaches and all the people that help the teams, these kids wouldn't have had the instruction or the push that they needed to develop their skills in the certain positions and areas that they needed. And most importantly, we have to thank the students themselves.
Absolutely.
For taking their own time to devote to being a part of a team that represents their school and their community.
Perfect.
They're ambassadors to the rest of Massachusetts for us.
I couldn't have said it any better.
And I want to thank their parents. Even though sometimes I feel the parents can push them in not so great a direction. I want to thank the parents for being there to motivate their children to keep going in the sports program.
This is Philippe Simon. He's our producer of the Game of the Week. He's also the production coordinator here at GCTV. You got John Meisner. He is the producer of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. On behalf of our underwriters here today, the 4-Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, and Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the show here today because I think we got a lot out of this, and I think this was really informative, and I think that this is something that hopefully will get us a few more people that will step up, make that phone call, and be able to be a part of our team here at Greenfield Community Television. Until we meet again, you have yourself a wonderful day, and thank you for tuning in. Brother!
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game, and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.